So, dear respected colleagues, I am back after the short break, and I hope that you are also back in this session. So, now we are at the beginning of 21 page, and point 1.2 is defining terms. There are some terms related to project management which will be used throughout the project DPro guides. You will see when you read the project DPro guide. The number one definition is project management. What do we mean by project management? So let me read out first, then we'll explain shortly. As we move forward through the guide, it will be important to understand some of the key terms used. A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Based on these definitions, the purpose of project management is to plan, organize, manage resources to bring about the successful implementation of specific project goals, outcomes, and outputs. Projects deliver integrated outputs, which is called also deliverables, which should lead to better outcomes, results for communities and other stakeholders such as donors and the community. Projects are time-bound and focus on requirements to deliver specific benefits for communities in ways that are cost-effective and measurable. High-quality, comprehensive project management practices are indispensable in helping organizations manage focused, effective, and efficient projects. Within the context of project management, the project manager is responsible for ensuring the overall success of the project. And yet, while the project manager is responsible for project success, this does not mean that the project manager is personally responsible for completing the work of the project. Instead, the project manager should collaborate closely with an array of stakeholders to ensure that the work of the project is completed. These stakeholders, including members of the project team, implementing organizations, INGO partners, contractors, community groups, and others, must work together to design, implement, and control all aspects of the project. Like many sectors, project managers in the development and humanitarian sectors often are required to manage stakeholders in a context where there is no formal or hierarchical authority. It is also common for stakeholders in a single project to have different ethnicities, languages, cultures, and even nationalities. The challenge of managing groups within this context can be especially difficult. In practice, the project manager's challenge to successfully deliver project results will always take place within the context of project constraints. Now, we shall yellow box, but before that, let us discuss shortly project management. So there is a project management definition provided by PMI's PMBOK, which is called Project Management Body of Knowledge. And the definition is: a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. And so, as a project is taken to create some change, some result, some service, So a project manager is responsible to plan, organize, and manage resources to successfully complete the project by achieving the project goals, outcomes, and outputs. And that's why a project manager needs project management knowledge. And project management means understanding the needs to manage a project successfully by creating or bringing the envisioned change and the entire things which is related to and study the success of the project is project management. So in a project manager has a very important role, and the yellow box says, while in an ideal situation, the project manager should not be doing the work of the project. We are aware that this is not always possible of the case. The science of project management says that a project manager will not be performing the activities or the duties, every work in a project, but realistically it's not possible. Sometimes a local organization will not have the resources for a full project team. In other cases, the project manager may be overseeing more than one project. The tools in the PGDPro will help the PM, means the project manager, in these situations to better manage their projects, effectively delegating tasks, communicating with partners, team members, and stakeholders are essential in these circumstances. So these are the things that a project manager need to do. He need to delegate the tasks. He need to communicate with partners. He need to work with team members. He need to make sure that team members are performing well, and also stakeholders are managed, communicated, informed, and also they are engaged. They are participating in the project management. Now the famous triple constraint. Project is nothing but maintaining or working or managing three constraints. Time means schedule, cost means resources, time or scope or quality. So let us explain one by one, and let me read first, then explain. And you see the triangle where the three project constraints means the triple constraints are connected, interlinked with each other. Scope, quality, what are the products, services that the projects will produce, what tasks, activities, work is required to produce these deliverables. Number one constraint. Number two, cost or resources. What money, materials, personnel means human resources are available to deliver the project product or services or changes or activities or scope and to complete the comprehensive work of the project. Number three, time or schedule. What is the amount of time required to complete the all activities of the project? The job of the project manager is to ensure that the triple constraint triangle stays in balance. The constraints are interdependent, so whatever one of these constraints is restricted or extended, the other constraint will also need to be extended, increased, or restricted or reduced. We shall cover the yellow box later. Let me continue reading. The project manager The project manager needs to understand the relationships and trade-offs that exist between each of the constraints to effectively manage the project. When considering constraints, it may be helpful to think about them within the context of inflexible or adaptable or MEAL concept. Let us see what is inflexible in a scenario of triple constraints or in a project management scenario. Any change in this constraint results in a negative impact. Inflexible indicates that this constraint is the most critical and must be constrained. Any change in this constraint results in a negative impact on the project. For example, if you are implementing a winterization project providing blankets, winter clothing, etc. for beneficiaries that needs to take place before the winter season begins, the time is an inflexible constraint. Another example is an inflexible resource or cost if the project donors' policies do not allow changes in the budget. If you spend less than originally planned on a specific activity, it doesn't mean the balance can be shifted to other activities or transferred to the other projects. Even though there will be a balance at the end of the project, no adaptation or change is allowed in the budget. Some donors require that you report the unused funds, which will be deducted from the following project funds transfer or returned to the donor. Or MEAL constraints indicates that there is some flexibility within the constraint, but it should be optimized as much as possible. If there is a change needed for the project that affects one of the constraints and that constraint is adaptable, actions can be taken to accommodate the change. For example, if in the process of procuring seeds for an agriculture livelihoods project that aims to improve wheat yields, it is discovered that there is a wheat plague affecting the crops, and the scope is adaptable, the original seeds can be replaced by rice or corn without changing the timeline and budget, which are inflexible. Dear colleagues, let me take a phone call and I'll come back very soon. Thank you. So excuse me, and I'm back. In another project, additional time is needed at the end of the project because of delayed activities at the beginning. Some projects expect activities to start on the very first day after In another project, additional time is needed at the end of the project because of delayed activities at the beginning. Some projects expect activities so start on the very first day after the formal authorization. Receiving funds, hiring the project team, and developing the detailed plan is often forgotten or takes more time than anticipated. Since time is adaptable, according to the project charter and agreement, the project schedule can be adjusted to accommodate the initial delay. Constraint can also consider to optimize other constraints, adaptation or manage inflexible constraints. In the previous example, that a scheduled adjustment is required adaptable time. The activity's delay might require postponing the project closure in a few months and extra funding is necessary. The budget may consider to optimize the time change through a request for additional funds if approved by the donor. As another example, if exchange rates negatively affect the number of NFI, non-food item kits, the project is able to procure and the budget is inflexible. The scope of work may be reduced to accommodate the actual amount of funding received. The constraint in the scope of work, in this case of the number of NFI kits, consists because the budget constraint is. So there is a diagram inflexible. Sometimes if time is inflexible, there is no flexibility in the project timeline, so it must be constrained and finished by the expected completion date. So I talked about the Delta River project. The Delta River latrine construction needs to be completed before the rainy season. Therefore, this constraint is inflexible. Adaptable means considerable. Budget. The donor has requested additional scope for the project. Therefore, the budget will need to be revised and adapted to reflect these changes. The donor has requested to double the number of latrines to be constructed within the same time frame. Therefore, additional resources and budget will be required to complete activities within the time frame. By clarifying that classification of each of the constraints, inflexible or adaptable, may concede, the project manager can enter into discussions with project stakeholders to frame and drive a discussion on setting priorities for each of the constraints. It is important to get the priorities established and agreed upon by all stakeholders early in the project. Trying to negotiate these constraints after the project is launched is often difficult or impossible. Once people solidify their views of the constraints with scheduled tasks and named resources, the effort to make changes become much more difficult. Let me discuss the yellow box, then we'll discuss shortly about the triple constraints. The interdependency is if one side of the triple constraint triangle changes, so do the other two sides. Take, for example, a humanitarian NFI distribution project in which the original scope indicated that 10,000 families would be provided with NFI kits. We know what is NFI kits. It's blankets, soaps like non-food items. Suddenly, the project team gets a request to increase the number of families served from 10,000 to 12,000, increasing the number of kits required by 2,000. This is an increase in the scope of work of the project and will require that the cost of resources and the timing to complete the distribution also increase in order to successfully implement these activities. Means when one constraint is changed in triple constraints, if one constraint is changed, it will impact one or the other two constraints. Let me give an easy example. In one project, there is an activity of distribution of umbrellas. And in the locality, in the community, the project is being implemented is is in a tropical rain country, and rainy season starts in June in that community or in that area, and the project has been started in April. So what is the constraint here? Here, schedule or time is a constraint. Means the project manager needs to distribute the umbrellas before June, means by May. So time is a constraint here. Now what he needs to do? He needs to work with the scope and budget so that he can finish this activity by May. If he cannot implement it by May, he cannot spend the money. If he cannot spend the money, there will be a stockpile of unspent money, and he needs to give back the money because there is a budget constraint. Most of the donors, institutional or non-institutional, government or other organizations, they have no provision of interchanging the budgets. So unspent money will go back. So this is a budget constraint. So that's how the triple constraints are interchangeably connected. They are interdependent. Let's move forward. Now we will discuss from the DPro guide about program and portfolio management. So now I hope that you could see the program and portfolio management page. Let us focus on it carefully, because if we don't understand difference between program and portfolio management, maybe we'll be unable to understand the project management, because project management in a development or humanitarian scenario, project management works within the framework of an organizational environment, and in organizational environment, humanitarian programs and development programs are often organized or clustered under program and portfolio management. Let alone the small organizations where the project can stay alone. But in most of the scenarios, as organizations are getting bigger and the operational areas or thematic areas are being bigger and extended, so that's why the concept of program and portfolio management are there. Let me read first and then respond. In the development sector, the terms project, program, and portfolio are frequently used and often interchangeably. In the absence of a consistent and precise definition of these terms, the roles and definition and parameters of project management. So now let's in the absence of consistent and precise definition for these terms, the roles and responsibilities of the project manager can be unclear and misinterpreted. We have already discussed the definition and parameters of project management, so let's take a look at the program and portfolio management. Program management. Programs are groups of related projects and activities, sometimes referred to as component parts of a program, that are managed in a coordinated way to achieve an impact that is greater than if they were managed individually. In other words, the benefit of the program is greater than the sum of its parts. The project's activities and tasks. Development and humanitarian organizations often organize projects into programs to deliver outcomes that address a broad range of needs and achieve exponential benefits for the communities in which they work. Most programs are managed at a country level under the supervision of a program manager and the leadership of a country director, head of programs, or similar role like program owner. Some programs are devised to deliver global goals, and these are more likely to be managed at a regional or headquarters level. Not all development and humanitarian organizations have clearly defined hierarchies, opting instead for a flatter structure with shared responsibilities, in which case program management responsibilities are defined and shared as a team. Programs, unlike projects, are gradually implemented through a centralized management system in which groups of projects are coordinated to achieve a program's overall strategic objectives and benefits. This approach is particularly important in the development and humanitarian sectors because it enables NGOs to achieve economies to scale and realize incremental change that would not be possible if projects were managed separately. Program management is especially important within the development sector because projects managed via a coordinated program have the potential to realize change or benefits that would be impossible if they were managed separately. Some areas of potential program alignment include geographical area. Projects often work side by side in the same region or throughout the country, and one of the central concerns of a program manager will be how the resources of multiple projects working in the same geographic area can be leveraged to have a greater impact than it would have in isolation. Most frequently, programs work in a single country, although it is increasingly common to find programs that are multi-country or global in scope. Sector intervention areas. While projects generally tend to work in a single sector within shorter time frame, programs often encompass multiple sectors and work within a longer time frame. Objectives. Often by coordinating of multiple projects through a coordinated program, an organization has greater potential to achieve its higher level goals. Funding. Often a single organization can manage multiple projects within funds from the same institutional donor. In this scenario, the opportunity exists to coordinate these projects within the context of a single program, which can result in economies of scale. Target populations. Organizations often overlap between targeted populations for projects in different sector areas, health, water, education, etc. Coordinating these projects through a program-based approach allows the organization to link them via common indicators, shared resources, and processes that help the communities continuously assess whether organizations are conducting the right interventions. While the staff of individual projects will focus on implementing the activities that contribute directly to the outcomes within their scope, at the program level, managers will focus on the challenge of coordinating projects, best leveraging resources of multiple projects, and increasing the impact of the program. So now let's look at the diagram, the project, program, and portfolio diagram. Now you see the program. A program can hold one project and one program together, or a program can hold 3-4 projects together, or a program can hold one project, another program, and under that program there are 2 or 3 projects. So the programs can be like that. For example, in humanitarian emergencies, suppose an organization is based in the capital city, but the humanitarian situation is happening in the remotest corner of the country. So the organization, as it is based in the capital city, it is organizing a program for the humanitarian response, for the emergency response. So under this program, all the projects being implemented in that specific district or that specific remote humanitarian area will work under one program, and can be, its name can be humanitarian program or emergency program, and they will have a head of program. And under this program, there can be WASH project, there can be education project, there can be nutrition project, there can be shelter project, NFI project, food and food security project, child protection project, women empowerment projects, or it can be also like that. Okay, in a country, an organization works for land reform. So they have divided their programmatic areas like this. One program will work for the karsh lands. Karsh land means the lands of which are not registered by any person, and that program will work for the land that kind of land reformation. The another program is wasteland program, and that under that program they have organized many projects to protect wastelands, like, and also the other things, other projects. So a program can be organized in many ways, and it depends on the strategic plan or strategic position of an organization, and also the organizational policy, the way the organization needs to organize the projects and the activities of this specific organization. Now let's focus on the portfolio management. Let me read first, then we'll go back to the diagram to see the portfolio. In most organizations, we see that in most organizations, there will always be competition for limited resources. The portfolio management process helps to harmonize programs and projects so that they are aligned and can best meet overall strategic goals. These involves prioritizing and balancing opportunities and risks against the supply and demand of resources in order to meet the overall objectives of an organization. Because of their complexity and strategic focus, portfolios are typically managed by a country director or at a regional or global level by a high-level executive team. While not the responsibility of program managers, it is still important to be aware of issues related to portfolio management. Given competition for limited resources, program managers and their teams should be able to articulate how their programs and projects contribute to the achievement of the organization's vision, support the strategy of their organization, contribute value to the organization's programs and or portfolio. Portfolio management oversees the performance of multiple projects and programs. It is not concerned with day-to-day project tasks, but focuses instead on selecting, initiating, and managing an overview of all efforts in a way that addresses the strategic objectives of an organization. Portfolio management involves making high-level decisions about whether to stop or redirect a project or program so as to optimize the strategic fit of the efforts being undertaken to fulfill the organization's mission. Let's come to portfolio. Portfolio is a big picture. It can be country level, it can be regional level, it can be global level. The main purpose of the portfolio is to give strategic leadership to a bunch of projects and programs, to make sure that the organizational values are being translated, the organizational strategic vision is being met and reflected in the work of the projects and programs. And the main responsibility of portfolio management is not to handle day-to-day work of the projects and programs, but to give a strategic viewpoint to the project team, to the program team, to make sure that they are aligning with the organization's vision, mission, strategic choices, and values. So it's a kind of strategic leadership, but not day-to-day activities. The way the program leaders and project leaders lead their teams. But the project teams and program teams need to understand the mindset of the portfolio, because they are the one who will translate the mission, vision of the organization into field level, in programmatic and project level, and also they will serve the result that is being expected by the portfolio management. So there is a comparative table to understand program, portfolio, and project. I think I need to make the page a bit smaller. If you feel very bad about the font size, I'm sorry. I think you could read. So portfolio, the portfolio manager is a high-level leader who is accountable for the totality of an organization's investment in the changes required to achieve its strategic aims and objectives. The program manager coordinates, directs, and oversees the implementation of a set of related projects and activities, usually over several years, in order to deliver outcomes related to an organization's strategic objectives. The project manager is responsible for coordinating temporary structures that have been created for the purpose of delivering one or more outputs. Now, there are some comparative characteristics. Project portfolio management establishes long-term vision for an entire organization. But program management establishes and clarifies a strategy and vision within program boundaries. And project manager manages and coordinates. Portfolio management provides overview and organizational insight, set policies, standards, priorities, and plans, understands cross-organizational issues, manages high-level, I'm going down a bit, high-level strategic risks, takes tough decisions, well-rounded knowledge of context, internal and external, ability to oversee a mix of programs, projects, and other activities. So these are the chief active characteristics of program management, portfolio management. Now program management. Program management establishes and clarifies strategy and vision within program boundaries. This management engages with stakeholders at all levels, internal and external. Program management directs and oversees the implementation of project activities, manages strategic and operational risks, understands and resolves inter-project issues, focuses on quality and outcomes, ensures the delivery of measurable benefit and impact. Project characteristics: manages and coordinates, delivers outputs, time, cost, and scope, focuses on fit-for-purpose outputs that meets requirements and enable benefits realization, focuses on project risks, manages issues related to deliverables, plans for the successful execution of deliverables and activities. So these are the overall characteristics of features of projects, programs, and portfolios. Now, I think this is the last point for today. Where do projects come from? Let me read. Projects and the funding for projects can take many different forms depending on the context, the organizational structure, and strategy of the organization. While there may be different mechanisms in which projects are developed and funded, the framework from which we approach projects remains the same. INGO, implementing partner, an international NGO may run a program and have several different local implementing partners conducting the activities and doing the work that contributes to an overall programmatic goal. Frequently, these programs are called projects, but in all reality, each implementing partner component could potentially be considered as a project itself. In most cases, with this kind of project, the components of the intervention have already been identified and designed, with the focus of the implementing partners on the execution of the activities. Example, an INGO is implementing a multi-sector program in a post-conflict environment, seeking to provide the targeted communities with improved access to basic services. The INGO is working with 4 implementing partners, each working on a specific sector, protection, wash, food distribution, and shelter. Each of these sector components can be considered a project and have specific objectives that will lead to the programmatic outcome of improving the access of basic services to the targeted communities. Standalone project. Some organizations may have multiple funding streams that allow a certain level of flexibility when it comes to identifying and implementing projects. Standalone projects are usually funded by the organization through these alternative forms of unrestricted funding. Some examples may include the NGO has a fair trade store at local shopping mall to sell handicraft products made by artisans who live in the community. The NGO has fundraising events that provide a source of income to pursue stand-alone projects. Example, a group of artisans that provide products to the store needs financial training to better manage their cash flow, financial reserve, and profits. This project doesn't fit neatly within any specific program at this point and therefore stands alone. From the profits the store is able to provide, the NGO decides to run a 1-year standalone project that will develop a financial brochure based on the artisan's specific needs and context. The output and outcome of this standalone project might be helpful for other projects or programs in the future. But while designing, planning, implementing, and closing this project, its goal was simply to attend the artisan's need with no relation to other initiatives. Grants. In most cases, grant projects will be very focused and fall under a specific topic outlined by the donor. Grants may come from NGOs, governmental agencies, foundations, or private donors. Example, a local CBO receives a grant to design and implement an education project for their community, providing after-school support to students who are falling behind in their classwork. The CBO is responsible for identifying, designing, planning, and implementing the project intervention. Essentially, the CBO is responsible for the project from start to finish. Projects under programs. An organization will likely have several programs running at any given time, each of which ought to have a specific program outcome. Under the umbrella of each program, several project interventions will be designed and implemented according to the program outcome. Example, an INGO has a gender-based violence advocacy and awareness program with the outcome of increasing the awareness of the community on the root causes of GBV. One of the projects under this program may be to conduct an awareness session for local community leaders on the effects of GBV on the community. Another project under this program may be conducting an advocacy campaign to lawmakers with the focus of changing policies at the national level. Together, all of these project outcomes will become outputs at the program level and work toward achieving a programmatic level outcome. So dear colleagues, I hope we have finished 28 pages today, till 28 pages. From tomorrow, we will look at the other pages slowly, and I'm very happy that I can share with you my expertise as a Project DPro certified project manager, and I hope that you will be succeeded in your exams after this session. So I hope that you will get a good preparation vibe from this learning study circle, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Good night from Bangladesh.